It would seem that everyone has already gotten used to George Martin's promises to finish his books in the near future. Although apparently he is doing anything but working on his series. However, the writer recently shared news about the Winds of Winter, after which they again started talking about a possible 9th season of Game of Thrones and even a complete reboot. Too many differences are expected in the books from the finale that we saw. In the next few minutes, we will figure out what all the fuss is about, and at the same time discuss how the 3rd season of House of the Dragon is going, which is being filmed right now. In general, when it comes to the Winds of Winter, most attention, for obvious reasons, is paid to when the show will be released. After all, 14 years have passed since A Dance with Dragons. During this time, a lot has happened. The main series ended, the full history of the Targaryens was released, which also became a series, and the penultimate book of the cycle shows only weak signs of life. The Winds of Winter is taking so long to write for a variety of reasons, from Martin's other projects to the scale and complexity of the storytelling. Jon Snow will be resurrected, Daenerys Targaryen will meet Tyrion Lannister, and most likely finally make it to Westeros. And then there are dozens of other storylines that need to be logically resolved and brought to a conclusion. Over the years, Martin has revealed various details about the next A Song of Ice and Fire book, and recently confirmed some of them. Now we know for sure that the Winds of Winter will begin with 2 epic battles. We've seen them in the show too, but they happened at different times. The first is the Snow Battle, which pits Stannis Baratheon's forces against Ramsay Bolton's. The show showed us this in Season 5, but it hasn't happened in the books yet. The second battle will be the Battle of Slaver's Bay. The preview chapters of the Winds of Winter actually set this up when Tyrion witnessed the events unfolding in the bay. Both battles will be very different from Game of Thrones. As for the Snowy Battle, there is a chance that Stannis will win and take Winterfell. He will not be defeated quickly and almost ignominiously as he was in the show. In the Battle of Meereen, we saw Daenerys and her dragons burn the slavers to death in an instant. But in the books, it will go the other way because Barristan Selmy is alive, and the political landscape in the Bay is much more complex, which will make the battle unpredictable. After all, Game of Thrones is famous for unexpected twists, exciting battles, and tense intrigue. We have talked many times about what is happening with the Harry Potter series now, and it is not even about the color of the skin or the origin of the actors, but why a reboot is needed at all. In short, for the studio, it is profit and hype for 10 years, and for fans. An opportunity to get more details that could not be included in the film due to the running time. Approximately the same, apparently, awaits Thrones. New plot twists, more detailed elaboration of the plot, and a different ending from George Martin will become a reason to shoot a proper adaptation with a canonical ending. The details shared by the writer are indeed very different from the series. In addition to a different course of the 2 battles, changes will also affect the plot arcs of the characters. For example, Robb Stark's widow, Jane, who was not in the series at all, survived the Red Wedding. Her presence can clarify 2 important questions: whether she is pregnant by Robb and whether she really met with Jaime or it was an imposter. She can also tell about the will of the king in the north. And this can significantly change the balance of power in terms of claimants to Winterfell and the future fate of the family kingdoms. In another published chapter, Arya Martell, by the way she was also not shown in the series, goes to the Stormlands to meet with young Griff, who may be Aegon Targaryen, which also seriously affects the political background. Or for example, Quaithe has always been one of the most mysterious characters in A Song of Ice and Fire, but she never returned after the 2nd season. Her story remained unrevealed in the series, but in the books, Daenerys saw her in a dream and received cryptic messages from her after leaving Korth. Martin confirmed in one of his posts that Quaithe's role will be extremely important in the future plot. It is also known that the scene of Hodor's death, which broke the hearts of many viewers, will be shown differently in the books. The author noted that this will be due to his size and build, and that he will wield a sword. In addition, the writer said that he has an interesting idea about unicorns in the new books. It's hard to believe, but their existence was actually mentioned in the novels. They live off the coast of the north, where Osha brought Rickon Stark. Thus, they may appear in the chapters written by Devos Seaworth, who was tasked with returning the boy. Nymeria's pack, which we saw in the 7th season of Game of Thrones, was more of a reference and did not play an important role in the plot. However, in the books, Jon saw hundreds of wolves following her. And in one of his interviews, Martin noted that no one would hang a pack of giant wolves on the wall if they were not going to use them. That is, the writer would definitely release them for some important event. And this is only a small part of what did not fit into Thrones. Of course, there will be some similarities with the series. For example, Martin has repeatedly confirmed that Daenerys will inevitably meet Tyrion, and they will go to Westeros together. The Dothraki will definitely return and play an extremely important role in the upcoming events. However, there are simply a huge number of differences in the novel, as well as undisclosed plotlines. Martin is unlikely to repeat the season finale given its criticism. The writer will have to come up with a different ending that will be considered canonical. Therefore, HBO will be able to easily argue for a reboot of the series with a correct ending and a film adaptation closer to the books. As for Harry Potter, there will be as many as 16 years between the last part and the first episode of the series, a very solid period during which an entire generation has changed. Only 6 years have passed since the finale of Game of Thrones, which is almost 3 times less. As soon as Martin finishes the remaining books, the studio will most likely announce a reboot. The only question is how much more time the writer will need to complete his most famous series, and we think it will be quite a long time. It is difficult to predict anything here because none of Martin's own predictions came true. That is why the HBO bosses continue to expand the world with spin-offs and prequels. House of the Dragon turned out to be a fairly successful series, but it did not provide the same hype as Thrones. The upcoming Knight of the Seven Kingdoms will be a warm-up story with great attention to the characters, but without major battles and the threat of human extinction, so do not expect any special drama or passion here. The remaining spin-offs and prequels are still only on paper, although some have colossal potential to become successful. We are talking, of course, about Robert's Rebellion and the conquest of Akon. However, they have not even started the early stages of writing the draft. That's why there's talk of a sequel to the original Thrones again. Not a full-fledged 9th season, but one of the characters who will tell about the events after the endgame. Such a move would definitely attract the attention of viewers, and besides, it can be promoted as an unofficial continuation. We assume that the most logical option would, of course, be a series about Jon Snow. Martin always said that in his books, the North still remains practically unexplored. The secrets surrounding the others still occupy an important place in the novels, and Journey Beyond the Wall can tell about their origin, motives, and how to defeat them. Most likely, this will be many times more difficult to do than was shown in the series. The fact that the series concluded the Night King storyline in just 1 episode is often called the main disappointment of the show, which is basically true given the promising beginning of this ominous line. Moreover, the authors did a very poor job of revealing the background and motivation of the main threat to humanity. With Jon and the Wildlings heading back beyond the Wall, it would be easy to find a way to bring back the White Walkers or a similar threat. It would give the opportunity to delve deeper into their storyline, which hasn't been explored enough in previous seasons. So it's surprising that the Jon series was put on hold because there wasn't a clear story to tell. However, beyond Jon, there's also Arya's Ending, which is also a great option for a sequel. She's going on a big journey that will take her west of Westeros, and that would be really interesting to see as well. Since no one really knows what's going on there, there's endless potential for a story that explores that mystery. The source material is limited to just a few lines, which gives the writers fewer restrictions. Arya is a fan-favorite character, and she's still dealing with the aftermath of her quest for revenge, which means she has room to grow. In other words, there are options for a sequel, and it seems like they're being discussed again. While the studio is pondering this, filming of House of Dragons is in full swing. The cast is gradually sharing new details with us from the set, calling the production the largest ever. Recently, the actor playing Alan from Hull shared exclusive photos of his armor straight from the set. It shows a full-plate armor with the Valyrian symbol in the center. Apparently, the armor is quite old as the symbol is slightly scratched and looks like it has been damaged by time. This reveals Alan's increased role in the upcoming season. As we know, the 3rd season will begin with the Battle of the Gullet, which is the largest naval battle in the history of Westeros. Alan will be heavily involved in the battle as he is the illegitimate son of Corlys. Previously, he refused to acknowledge his heritage and the privileges that come with it. But judging by the spoiler photos from the set, his opinion will change, and he can claim the rights to House Valyrian, if, of course, he survives. Therefore, his storyline is promising and interesting. Let's see how the writers will manage to reveal it. In the second season, we were briefly shown Lord Cregan Stark, who made a deal with Jay Harris. Apparently, in the third season, House Stark will be represented by another character. For the Northerners, the events will unfold around the legendary Winter Wolves. These are 2,000 gray-haired veterans who voluntarily went to certain death fighting for the Black. Particular attention will be paid to their leader, Roderick Dustin, played by Tommy Flanagan. This charismatic commander is not only an experienced warrior, but also a supporter of tough fights. In the absence of the Starks, he will become the main representative of the North in future battles. In general, the production of the prequels continues and is doing quite well. But no matter how you look at it, they can't take the place of the original. Well, we'll wait. Maybe the studio has prepared an unexpectedly pleasant surprise for us. In the meantime, we suggest sharing your opinion in the comments. Does the throne need a reboot, and would you like to see a continuation about Jon or Arya? Well, that's all for today, friends. See you in new videos very soon.